is KCAL News, Los Angeles.
Now at 4, a suspect in a stolen car leads LAPD on a wild chase, driving recklessly through the streets. The driver ramming cars in his desperate getaway attempt, eventually losing a tire in the process. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Juan Fernandez. That chase finally came to a crashing end in Larchmont. Assignment editor Mike Rogers is at the desk with more on this very dangerous pursuit. Mike?
Yeah, Juan, this one was pretty wild. I was trying to compile some of the video here to show you, and there's actually more than I really have time for. So I want to get straight to it here, and we'll show you how this all started. Now, we first picked up with it with officers actually outside of their car looking for the suspect, and then he just kind of appeared from under the garage there and took off. Those officers trying to give him commands. Obviously, that person doesn't stop. They drive away and squeeze through this alley here and even between a few of the patrol cars. These were officers from LAPD's Rampart Division. Southwest was there. Olympic was there. So they had a lot of officers. You see there, sideswipes that van on the turn there, then goes at high rates of speed, wrong side of the road onto oncoming traffic and through these crosswalks at a very busy time of day. Even going through this closed road here on a construction site, that's when he hops the curb here, drives on the sidewalk, even through a little bit of grass. Now, when he comes out of here, he sideswipes this UPS truck, and that does some pretty significant damage to the Jeep there, making it tires smoke as it drove along. Now, ultimately, they would come here and go through this intersection. LAPD will perform a pit maneuver after they got authorized by their watch commander. That's a Rampart unit doing that. Now, they were able to keep pushing that car until it stopped. Another one comes in. They box him in. You can see that passenger officer actually can't even get out of his car. He's got to jump over the driver's side. Ultimately, that suspect would be taken into custody. But as we come back out here to the desk, Juan, you know, that's a stolen car that now has a significant amount of damage. So whoever owns that car going to have to hit up their insurance companies. But at least everyone is safe and in custody now.
That is a good thing. All right, Mike, thanks for that. Now to this, there's been an arrest in a deadly stabbing in Baldwin Park. Deputies say they found a woman dead inside a home on Palm Avenue near Walnut. This after someone called 911 for help last night. Early this afternoon, LA County Sheriff deputies let us know that they have now arrested the woman's son in connection with her death. Metro Rail service was shut down in East LA today because of a police investigation into a deadly stabbing. KCAL's Rick Montanez has the latest.
That person found dead in the street right next to the Metro tracks. Deputies are here with the street closed off at the intersection of Indiana and First. Homicide detectives, of course, need to still figure out exactly what happened here. In the video we're showing you now, KCAL overhead this morning to show you the scope of this crime scene. We will not show it to you, but we can tell you that it was a bloody scene before they covered up that person's remains. The LA County Sheriff's Department says the call came around 5:10 this morning. Initially, they did not know what happened, but the caller said a person was down in the street. They thought there may have been a shooting here, but investigators now say this is a stabbing death case. Detectives will no doubt be searching for security cameras around here, which may offer clues about what happened in the early morning hours, the last few moments of this person's life. We are expecting for homicide detectives to brief us on what they're figuring out in this case. Reporting in East LA, Rick Montanez, KCAL News.
So today, I'm proposing the 28th Amendment to the United States Constitution.
Our other top story today, Governor Newsom creates a firestorm when he calls for a 28th Amendment to curb gun violence. The governor making a dramatic proposal trying to cut down on gun violence, and it grows out of his frustration in the wake of mass shootings. KCAL's Jeff Nguyen takes a look at the proposal and what people have to say about it.
I was shot with an assault weapon, AR-15.
Julie Paez was one of the victims of the mass shooting at the Inland Regional Center in San Bernardino, where 14 people died in 2015, which is why she supports Governor Gavin Newsom's proposal for a 28th constitutional amendment that would raise the federal gun buying age from 18 to 21, mandate universal background checks, institute a reasonable waiting period, and ban assault rifles nationally.
This will guarantee states as well the ability to enact common sense gun safety laws while leaving the Second Amendment intact.
Jonathan Solomon is the owner of Redstone Firearms in Burbank. He supports raising the buying age, but says it's not that simple.
We got to look at that as a totality if that's going to affect those who want to become peace officers, those who want to join the military.
According to the latest findings from the Pew Research Center, 2021 had the highest total of gun deaths in the United States, but that doesn't account for population growth. On a per capita basis, there were 14.6 gun deaths per 100,000 people that year. The peak was in 1974 when there were 16.3 gun deaths per 100,000 people. However, the U.S. is on pace to hit a record number of mass killings in 2023, reaching an average of one a week, according to analysis by the Associated Press and USA Today. The group Gun Owners of California tweeted, "A majority of states clearly aren't in the mood for more gun control since 27 already have constitutional carry." Jonathan Solomon says a federal ban on assault weapons would have little impact.
We have yet to ever get a ATF firearms trace on a rifle. We've gotten traces on more handguns than we have on rifles.
Julie Paez has had 7 surgeries after being shot with an AR-15, and she wants people to know she may need more.
They don't realize the gravity of the damage that especially these assault style rifles, that they do.
Adding a constitutional amendment requires either a 2/3 majority vote by both houses of Congress or a constitutional convention convened by 2/3 of states. In Burbank, Jeff Nguyen, KCAL News.
Fire crews from LA City and County are taking part in a brush fire training exercise as we head towards summer. They are now joining other local departments at the Little Tujunga Hotspot Station. The goal there is to better coordinate command and control decisions between multiple agencies.
It's an excellent opportunity to get the Los Angeles City Fire Department, County, Angeles National Forest, Glendale, Burbank, and Pasadena firefighters to come together, maximize similarities, and minimize differences.
Fire officials say familiarity between agencies can lead to faster, less confusing access to information during fire emergencies. Thousands of pounds of illegal fireworks have been seized from a warehouse in Florence. The bust happened last night around 11 p.m. near South Central Engage. Rather than detonate them there, officers gathered up all the fireworks, then loaded them onto trucks and moved them away from the scene. They will eventually be destroyed in a safe area. 2 men who were in the building have been arrested on illegal fireworks charges. LA Mayor Karen Bass has tested positive for COVID. Her office says she's feeling fine. She learned she was positive last night after a routine test. A statement from her office says the mayor is now working remotely as she follows public health guidelines. Mayor Bass has been vaccinated and boosted as well. Some tough words from President Biden as he vetoed a GOP-backed bill to kill his plan to forgive student debt. The president said he isn't going to back down on his efforts to help tens of millions of working and middle-class families. His plan would cancel up to $20,000 worth of a student's debt. Those against his plan say it will cost taxpayers too much money, and it's not fair for people who did pay off their debt. The Supreme Court is expected to rule on that plan soon. All right, now to some breaking news. We just had a small earthquake here in Southern California. It was a 3.2 magnitude quake, and it hit just about 4 miles northeast of Sierra Madre. No reports of any damage or injuries with this one. All right, now to the weather story of the day. If you've been outside, you know it. There it is, sun. Beautiful sun. As we take a look outside, there are a lot of people enjoying some boating weather as well, or some time along the coast. Meteorologist Alyssa Carlson is here now with our next weather forecast. Looks so nice out there, Alyssa.
Hi, Juan. I know, and I'm happy to see that sun. I know a lot of people are, and it is exactly what we need because it's not going to last long, and we do have some more changes on the way. So savor this sunshine right now as the clouds will be building back in tonight. And at this moment, the satellite radar not showing anything. We have watched as that shallow marine layer was allowed to dissipate this afternoon. And with that being said, high pressure building in. Temperatures are actually running about 5 degrees higher in most of the outlying areas out into the Inland Empire, 5 degrees warmer in Ontario and Riverside. In fact, we are into the upper 70s in those locations. We're still, all in all, a few degrees below average everywhere, but we're trending anywhere from 2 to 5 degrees higher temperature-wise than yesterday at this time. As we take a look at what's ahead, today will be the warmest of the next 7. We do have sun and clouds returning as we head into Friday, and gloomy skies and a cooler weekend with showers now in that weekend forecast. I'll have that in your next weather forecast.
All right, Alyssa, thank you. Well, get this. First, it was a 911 call about a crash landing in a backyard and an 8-foot figure next to it. Then a Las Vegas police officer's body cam captured something in the sky you see right here. Was it a UFO, perhaps? Reporter David Charnes has the footage that has some excited and others nervous.
Leave her alone.
It's almost midnight on May 1st when a Las Vegas Metro police officer's body cam catches this, something flashing low in the sky.
911 emergency.
Minutes later,
there's like an 8-foot person beside it, and another one's inside, and it has big eyes and looking at us, and it's still there.
Someone calls 911 reporting 2 large figures in their backyard.
No, I'm so nervous right now. I have butterflies, bro. Everyone saw a shooting star, then these people say there's aliens in their backyard.
By now, it's more than an hour after that bright light. Officers meeting up with the caller and his family.
What'd you see?
It was like a big creature.
A big creature?
Yeah, like around 10 feet tall.
I'm not going to BS you guys. One of my partners said they saw something fall out of the sky too, so that's why I'm kind of curious. Did you see anything land in your backyard, or?
They see like a big, that's what they say. They see like a big something with light.
What I saw right now, I do believe in it.
Police walk into the backyard to investigate, but Metro blacked out that part of the video because it's considered private property. What's clear, they're taking this call seriously.
Hey, this might sound like a really dumb question, but did you guys see anything fall out of the sky?
Asking others what they saw.
I would normally discount it as nothing. However, seeing as one of my partners said they saw it too, only reason I'm actually investigating it further.
That investigation turning up no concrete answers as of Wednesday. Whatever or whoever fell into that yard, long gone within minutes.
Oh, hey. If those 9-foot beings come back, don't call us, all right? Deal with it yourself. I ain't dealing with that.
The American Meteor Society reports several people across eastern California, Nevada, and Utah all reported seeing that flash. All right, coming up, a bus burglar. A suspect steals a school bus and leads officers on a wild high-speed chase. How he was taught a lesson before being put in a different kind of detention. Plus, hazardous air. The warning as a dangerous haze from wildfires spreads from the East Coast. And a 10-year-old girl is found alive after spending 24 hours alone in the Cascade Mountains. Her incredible story of survival ahead.
KCAL News is sponsored by the law offices of Jacob Imrani.
A wild police chase in Indiana. State police pursued a stolen school bus out of Cincinnati for an hour. The suspect went off-road several times and collided with other drivers before officers finally got him to stop in the field. They quickly busted the burglar and put the cuffs on him. Well, smoke from hundreds of out-of-control wildfires in Canada is still drifting down into the U.S., and this thick haze is now moving from the northeast down the eastern seaboard and towards the middle of the country. KCAL News reporter Bradley Blackburn shows us.
You can barely see the Jefferson Memorial in Washington, D.C., as a smoky haze continues to engulf much of the Atlantic seaboard.
It's very important that affected communities listen to the guidance of their state and local officials.
Forecasters say 2 separate weather systems are pushing the smoke south. Philadelphia is currently under an air quality alert, which means the air is considered unhealthy to breathe.
The health of our residents and workers is paramount. Philadelphia, please take good care of yourselves and look out for each other.
The smoke is coming from Canada, where more than 400 wildfires are burning, over half of them out of control. With the air so thick, U.S. health officials advise staying indoors as much as possible.
Not everyone has the opportunity to do that. If you've got to be outside, for some people wearing a mask can be helpful to help filter out some of the smoke around them.
Wildfire smoke is still clouding the view of Manhattan's skyscrapers, and New York's mayor has asked people to stay indoors. The city's parks are mostly empty, and so are playgrounds, even though school is out for a holiday.
Still having a good time. The Farner family from Houston is making the most of their vacation despite the unexpected smoke.
It would be nice to get a clear view of the skyline, but now we can always say we were in New York when there was the haze, and other visitors can't say that, so at least we have a story.
And all this haze is making it tough on air travel. Poor visibility has forced the FAA to slow flights in the Northeast, causing hundreds of delays and some cancellations. Bradley Blackburn, KCAL News.
All that smoke right there is increasing demand for air filters, humidifiers, and masks, right? The sales surged on Amazon today, and Google searches for air purifiers are up 16-fold since just Monday. Companies that make the devices are gaining ground in the stock market as well. Share prices are up for Whirlpool, Carrier Global, and Johnson Controls. Right now, an incredible story of survival. A 10-year-old girl was found safe in Washington state more than 24 hours after she was reported missing in the Cascade Mountains. The girl was separated from her family during a gathering at the Cathedral Pass trailhead. She was found alive, though, with only minor scrapes the next day, about a mile and a half south of where she was last seen. She said she hiked downstream through the dense forest and spent the cold night between some trees. Authorities are calling her extraordinarily resourceful and resilient, no doubt.
This is KCAL News, Los Angeles.
Now at 9, former President Donald Trump indicted on federal criminal charges stemming from those classified documents found at his Mar-a-Lago estate. Tonight, we have new information on those charges and analysis from our local political experts. Plus, a hit-and-run epidemic. Tonight, we go in-depth on that growing problem, claiming lives in the San Fernando Valley. And new plans for a floating barrier at the border. Will it deter migrants from making the dangerous journey? Good evening, I'm Juan Fernandez. A stunning and historic night. Former President Donald Trump, the first former president to face a federal indictment. 7 charges stemming from his handling of classified documents after he left the White House. One, CNN reporting, is a violation of the Espionage Act. KCAL News political reporter Tom Wade is here with legal and political analysis. Tom.
So much to get to, and we are in uncharted waters, Juan, as you pointed out. CBS News is reporting the former president is also facing obstruction and conspiracy charges connected with those classified documents. Legal experts say these charges are serious and carry the possibility of prison time.
I'm an innocent man. I did nothing wrong.
Former President Donald Trump proclaiming his innocence in a video he posted not long after announcing on his social media network that he's been indicted.
Just like the Russia hoax and all of the others, it's just been going on for 7 years.
CBS News sources say Mr. Trump is facing a 7-count indictment, including the retention of national defense information, conspiracy, and obstruction. The charges stemming from the federal investigation into Trump's handling of sensitive government documents after he left the White House. It was last August federal agents served a search warrant at Mr. Trump's golf resort home of Mar-a-Lago in Florida and seized a number of the classified documents in question. Scott Tenley is a former federal prosecutor.
What I'm looking for is how strong is the obstruction case? What evidence do they have, if we even see it in the indictment, that the president purposely and willfully held back these documents and obstructed the investigation of the FBI and federal officials. I think we also might see how he was using or what he was doing with the classified documents in his possession. We've heard reports that he was showing people who were not entitled to see these documents some of our nation's most guarded secrets. And if that's in the indictment, that's going to be troublesome for everyone, including the president.
Loyola law professor Jessica Levinson.
All of the reporting indicates that at this point, the charges will relate to the former president being asked over and over to give back government documents, for him refusing to do so, and potentially asking aides and or his attorney to help him hide those documents.
Burbank Congressman Adam Schiff, who led Trump's first impeachment trial, spoke with us just hours before Trump made the indictment public.
It certainly appears, just on the basis of the publicly reported evidence, that Trump knew he had classified documents, that his counsel, and it would appear at his behest, lied to authorities about the continued possession of classified information, and obstructed the effort to recover that material.
Mr. Trump has already announced he is running again for the GOP nomination for president in 2024. How this impacts the race is a big question.
The reaction remains uncertain. It's likely that Trump will retain support among his base. He famously said he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and not lose votes. At least with his core support, that's true. The question is whether the more marginal supporters of Donald Trump will stick with him. And that's very uncertain as of tonight.
Trump is framing the investigation and the charges as politically motivated.
They come after me. because now we're leading in the polls again by a lot against Biden and against the Republicans by a lot.
Mr. Trump will appear in a Miami federal courtroom on Tuesday. Meanwhile, tonight, Trump's allies and rivals in the Republican Party are coming to his defense. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis saying Trump is a victim of political weaponization, and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy calling the indictment unconscionable. So, before we move on to this, there are still, several other investigations
That's
going.
right.
There's the case in New York. There's the case in Georgia over election interference, and the case over the insurrection on January 6th.
No doubt. Now, let's talk about this. If he is found guilty,
Right.
what happens to his candidacy, his presidency moving forward?
So Loyola law professor Jessica Levinson, who we heard from there in the piece, she says that even if in this particular case, not all the cases, but in this case, if he's found guilty and even serves prison time, he can still be the president. This would not disqualify him. Now, the insurrection case, that could potentially affect his candidacy, but in this particular case, no.
So interesting, such new territory that we're all kind of experiencing this together, right?
Exactly. As we were talking about just a little earlier, we've never had a president or former president facing federal charges before. So, so there we go. And we don't know what the evidence is yet. Tuesday is a big day because that's when he appears in court. We might get more information that day. Federal court, it's a little different than it was in New York, where we saw those charging documents released. We'll have to see what we get. And so far, the Justice Department has said nothing.
Right. Let's see, and I know you'll be all over it.
Yeah.
All right,
Thanks,
Tom,
Juan.
thanks so much. All right, Tom, we'll continue to update us on this story, so stay with KCAL News and KCALnews.com for the very latest on the indictment of former President Donald Trump. All right, now to a developing news story here. Crews are busy at work tonight in Santa Clarita, where a 12-inch water main opened up this afternoon off the 14 freeway. This is on Newhall Avenue and 8th Street, leaving a massive sinkhole behind. Look at that. Santa Clarita Valley Water expects water to be restored in about 6 hours or so, but the area is expected to remain shut down until at least Saturday for all those repairs.
I came home, all the streets were blocked off, and noticed that my water was completely out, and it's a major inconvenience, that's for sure.
Well, no word tonight on what caused that pipe to burst or how much water was lost today. Well, you could call it a hit and run epidemic, a rising number of deadly crashes across the San Fernando Valley, leaving loved ones to grieve without justice. KCAL News reporter Joy Benedict live in Porter Ranch tonight, where she spoke to one of those families in mourning. Joy.
Yeah, Juan, it's so hard. It's so hard as a reporter, as someone who talks to these families time and time and time again. It's not just enough that they have to grieve the loss of their loved one, but knowing that whoever hit them, whether at fault or not, doesn't stop. They don't call 911. They don't offer to help. They don't do anything to help that loved one and just simply leave them behind. But here, this time, it was in Porter Ranch on this street when a young man, a teenager, happened to be crossing it when, for whatever reason, he was struck and killed by a hit-and-run driver. And of course, what's left behind is just a family that is lost. It's an emotion that needs little translation.
It was filled with joy and happiness, and it's sad that it took one person to take that away from them.
As the parents of Cesar Serrano sat on their front lawn just hours after burying their 19-year-old. Now another statistic of a crime plaguing this city.
It's a very cold thing to do. The fact that he didn't stop, he didn't bother to check if he was still alive or call 911, ask for help.
Serrano was killed a few weeks ago while crossing a street in Porter Ranch. The driver didn't stop.
We don't have answers. We have no idea who did this. And every day that goes by, that those individuals or that person is out there, and he's asking for the public's help in any way. Like, if you know anything, if you saw anything, please speak up.
But this hit and run isn't the only one LAPD's Valley Traffic Bureau is investigating. On May 27th, someone struck Sergio Oliveira while riding his motorcycle on Roscoe Boulevard in Northridge. This father and breadwinner for his family died. The driver of this 2000 BMW didn't even stop or call for help. It's something that grieving families never understand.
If they truly care, they would have called 911, they would have gone to the police or have said anything.
In the Valley Bureau alone, officers have seen 45 deaths due to traffic collisions so far this year. That's 15% more than this time last year, and 24% of them are considered hit and runs.
They don't understand why this had to happen, but if the person who did this or the individuals who did this, If you're seeing this right now, please turn yourselves in.
A plea from this family and from all families who are forced to carry the burden of a crime that just seems unthinkable.
All they want is justice. They want justice served. They want justice in the name of their child because their child had a whole future ahead of them.
Something that really every family wants. Now back out here live in Porter Ranch, this accident took place on the corner of Braymore and Bowmore. If you have any information, you are obviously urged to contact the Los Angeles Police Department. And don't forget that the city of Los Angeles has a standing fund for hit and run crashes. Any information that leads to a conviction, an arrest, and a conviction, there is a reward for up to $50,000. And you can always call Crime Stoppers and leave a tip anonymously if you have any of that information. And that number is 1-800-222-TIPS. Juan?
All right, Joy, thanks so much. Tonight, Governor Newsom proposing a 28th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution restricting access to guns. The amendment would raise the federal gun buying age from 18 to 21, mandate universal background checks, institute a reasonable waiting period, and ban assault rifles. He says the Second Amendment would be left intact. Julie Paez supports the proposal. She survived the mass shooting at the Inland Regional Center in San Bernardino in 2015. 14 people were killed in that attack. She's had 7 surgeries after being shot with an AR-15.
They don't realize the gravity of the damage that these, especially these assault-style rifles, that they do, and how fast they mutilate bodies and kill people.
We have yet to ever get a ATF firearms trace on a rifle. We've gotten traces on more handguns than we have on rifles.
The NRA responded to the governor's proposals saying, quote, Governor Newsom's latest publicity stunt once again shows that his unhinged contempt for the right to self-defense has no bounds. Well, a man armed with a knife goes on the attack at a playground in France. Tonight, investigators are trying to figure out why a man with no criminal past or history of mental illness would allegedly carry out such a disturbing crime. Also, more dangerous air on the East Coast, how smoke from those Canadian wildfires continue to cause problems in multiple states. And selling his medals, why Olympian Greg Louganis is putting some of his most prized possessions up for auction.
And we are looking at increasing cloud cover, maybe a chance of rain. We'll show you exactly what it's going to shape up to look like for the end of the week and the weekend next.
And be sure to turn to Channel 2 to watch KCAL News on CBS Los Angeles. Tonight, driving in the dark. California lawmakers demanding action after KCAL News investigation finds serious safety problems on LA freeways. The reaction to our investigation, tune in at 11.
CBS News Los Angeles, your local news, streaming wherever, whenever.
This is KCAL News Los Angeles.
The prime suspect in the 2005 disappearance of American Natalie Holloway has been extradited from Peru to Alabama. Joran Vandersloot is facing charges related to an alleged plot to extort money from Holloway's family. Holloway was last seen leaving a bar in Aruba with Vandersloot and 2 other men. Vandersloot is currently serving a 28-year sentence in Peru for the murder of a college student. Now for police in the French Alps. They're investigating a horrific knife attack at a playground that left 4 children and 2 adults injured. CBS's Charlie D'Agata reports the 31-year-old suspect's motives are still unknown, and we want to warn you, some of the details you're about to hear are disturbing.
Harrowing cell phone footage shows the alleged attacker roaming around the children's playground, knife in hand. What happens next is too distressing to show. Witnesses say he began targeting toddlers, some in their baby strollers. He was heard shouting, "In the name of Jesus Christ." 4 children are in the hospital, all under 3 years old, suffering from life-threatening injuries, police say. 2 adults were also wounded. All of a sudden, a lady says, "Run, run." There's a guy who is stabbing everybody, says this witness. He stabbed some children. Run, run. The police opened fire, wounding the suspect in the arrest. He's described as a Syrian citizen with legal refugee status in Sweden, according to France's prime minister. This gentleman has no criminal record, she said, is not known to the intelligence services, and with no history of psychiatric problems. Charlie D'Agata, CBS News.
Ukraine has started a long-awaited counteroffensive against Russian forces in the southeast. Earlier, Ukraine released video of troops training before launching a major attack in the southern region. Ukraine has mobilized new armored vehicle units with advanced weapons provided by the West. President Biden and British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak talked about support for Ukraine during their meeting at the White House Thursday.
U.S. leadership and resources are the decisive contribution allowing the forces of democracy and freedom to prevail.
We've done everything we could collectively, but individually in the United States, to make them ready.
And Ukrainian officials say Russian forces shelled the flooded city of Kherson hours after President Zelensky visited. Well, back here in the U.S., the Supreme Court ruled in favor of black voters in a redistricting case in Alabama. Conservative justices John Roberts and Brett Kavanaugh joined liberal justices in rejecting a Republican effort to weaken a voting rights law in the state. The Alabama map had just one majority black seat out of 7 congressional districts, despite the fact that more than a quarter of Alabama residents are black. U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy joined educators and healthcare professionals on Capitol Hill to testify about the urgent mental health crisis affecting America's youth. The hearing comes 2 weeks after Dr. Murthy issued the first ever public health advisory on the negative effects that social media can have on young people. CBS's Nicole D'Antonio reports from Washington.
My concern here is not just as Surgeon General, sir. It's as a doctor and as a parent.
Surgeon General Vivek Murthy appeared before a Senate panel Thursday to address the youth mental health crisis in America.
Our obligation finally to act is not just medical, it is moral.
Dr. Murthy testified loneliness and isolation brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic hit kids hard, with social media making matters worse.
Too often kids on social media are exposed to extreme, inappropriate, and harmful content. Indeed, nearly half of adolescents are saying that social media now makes them feel worse about their bodies.
Committee Chair Bernie Sanders suggested climate change could be another stressor.
I really do wonder, walking here today through the smog and the smoke, you wonder what impact it has on the kids who wonder, is this the future for me?
On Thursday, lawmakers also heard from educators on the front lines.
Too many of our students reported having felt sad or hopeless, and that their mental health was not good most or all of the time.
We know that through engagement, tiered supports, and shared strategies, our students are being more successful dealing with their individual emotions.
Senate lawmakers are vowing to continue working to find solutions.
The number one commodity that we have in this country is not gold and silver, it's our young people, and we're destroying them.
The nation's top doctor is pressing Congress to establish standards to ensure social media platforms are safe for young people. Nicole D'Antonio, CBS News, Washington.
Well, according to a recent CDC survey, nearly 3 in 5 teenage girls described feeling persistently sad or hopeless. That's double the rate of boys. An urban sanctuary located in the Baldwin Hills neighborhood of Culver City. Tonight, our Desmond Shaw is taking a look at the Stoneview Nature Center.
Well, take a look at this cool little park in Baldwin Hills. This is the Stoneview Nature Center, one of the youngest, if not the youngest parks in all of LA County, as it was only established in 2017. The 5-acre park sits on formerly polluted land, which was known as a brown site. Like so much of the Baldwin Hills, this area had an abandoned oil well and a gasoline pipeline that all had to be cleaned up to make way for the park. And now, according to LAist, the park has a focus on health, art, the environment, and plants native to California. That includes a lot of edible selections of plants and trees like avocados, figs, grapes, blackberries, and some that you may not have known are native to California, like lemonade berry, coffee berry, and prickly pears, and you can sample all of them here. Stoneview also operates an apiary with a group called Honey Love. Apparently, they also have an elaborate hotel for native bees, which they use to teach parkgoers about the importance of pollinating insects. You also have some outdoor workout equipment here, and they have outdoor workout and yoga classes, as well as guided urban nature walks. So here we have the 4,000 square foot main building of the property. Serves as a community hub of sorts, features a community kitchen, multi-purpose rooms that connect the observation deck and community porch. And speaking of observation deck, you will soon learn, if you're not from Los Angeles, that Baldwin Hills is where you're going to want to come to really get that most jaw-dropping view of the city of Los Angeles. This is where you're going to find those kind of postcard shots of downtown Los Angeles with the mountains in the background. So this is also an integral part of the planned Park to Playa Trail, which when completed will be 13 miles of trails and open space that connect Baldwin Hills with the Pacific Ocean. About 11 miles have been completed, so it's nearly done at this point. Plenty of parking, dog-friendly, a really great piece of what is soon to be one of the great nature trails of Los Angeles. And I have to admit, this one totally escaped my radar, so big thanks to Gary Dunn for telling me to check out Stoneview Nature Center. Taking a look at this from KCAL, I'm Desmond Shaw.
And still so green out there too, right? Well, if you'd like Desmond to take a look at something interesting in your neighborhood, write us at lookatthis@cbs.com. A new barrier could be going up at the U.S.-Mexico border. It will not be a wall, but a string of buoys. The new plan to deter migrants from illegally crossing into the U.S. Plus, customers under pressure to leave a tip for just about everything these days. We'll tell you what's being done to combat tipping fatigue.
Local news doesn't happen here.
It happens here.
And all of the places you live.
The same places we live.
Los Angeles is our home.
And it takes one of LA's largest news teams.
Now with the most hours of news.
To cover local news in real time.
Yeah, news happens here.
And we have you covered here.
KCAL News on KCAL and CBS Los Angeles. More local news.